In the imminent hours after that ceasefire came down, you pointed out you've seen the attacks going across the region, multiple barrages here in Israel, including cluster warheads, and then all the reporting about the counterstrikes carried out by Israel. That is common, in which we see Israel trying to knock out any ballistic missile launch sites that might be in Iran. Now, that said, just moments ago, we got the first public acknowledgement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office. I want to read for you part of this statement here saying, this is from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that Israel supports President Trump's decision to suspend strikes against Iran for 2 weeks. It also says that Israel also supports the U.S. effort to ensure that Iran no longer poses a nuclear, missile, and terror threat to America, Israel, or Iran's Arab neighbors in the world. Last line of this, though, Jesse, the 2-week ceasefire does not include Lebanon. That is different than what we heard from Pakistan here tonight. So when you say that you're confused, well, there are definitely some gaps in the rhetoric that are coming from all different parties, the U.S., Israel, Pakistan, and Iran, here at this hour.
Robert, I read that the supreme leader of Iran, this is according to Iranian local state media, has instructed all military installations to stop, has ordered them to stop firing at this hour. Are you getting any confirmation about that as well?
Well, I mean, I would say that at the present moment, it's rather quiet here, Jesse. But, I mean, I emphasize that, I mean, with all the attacks that have gone around the region, these all came down after the ceasefire was announced. There's no situation in which a missile was fired and then the ceasefire was announced and then a missile landed 2 hours later. That defies the laws of physics. So, I mean, you have seen these launches taking place after that ceasefire was acknowledged publicly by Iran.
Right. Oh, Kelly, I'm made of questions here. So what led the president at the 11th hour to arrive at this decision for a 2-week ceasefire? Was it Pakistan? Was it Israel? What got this to the table at this point? And I think the separate question is, how does he plan to ensure that Iran keeps up its end of the bargain, keeps the Strait open?
And that really is a big question tonight, as Robert was also talking about, whether or not this ceasefire really holds, whether or not they actually open the Strait of Hormuz, which is what the president was trying to get at. Remember the 8 p.m. deadline if they didn't agree to open up the strait. Now they have this 2-week ceasefire deal that was brokered by Pakistan, both sides agreeing to it. And the president, in his Truth Social, when he announced this tonight, he did say that the reason for doing this, he says, is because they have already met and exceeded all military objectives, and they are very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace, he says, with Iran. He talked about the 10-point proposal from Iran, and he believes that it's a workable basis on which to negotiate. So that's interesting, too, because that's the 10-point proposal from Iran, not the 15-point one from the U.S. He says that almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the U.S. and Iran, and that they have these 2 weeks to work this out. We're trying to hear whether or not there will be talks by the end of the week in person with members of the administration. We're looking at Steve Witkoff, we're looking at Jared Kushner, as well as possibly Vice President J.D. Vance. But all of that, we're waiting for the president or the White House to formally announce.
Look, Kelly, I think objectively, people can say, if you're not talking about continued attacks, if you're talking about moving towards a peace deal, sustained peace in that region with Iran, this is a good thing. However, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in the program, about the rhetoric where we heard from the president in the last 24 hours and what that means. Are you seeing the reaction from Congress still split on this right now?
Definitely. And you're even seeing some Republicans, like Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, who was warning against the president taking any action that he was threatening earlier today about, the complete collapse of civilization. We are seeing Lindsey Graham, even tonight, a Republican from South Carolina, saying that he wants to have a sort of congressional review, he calls it. He says that's why a congressional review process, like the one the Senate followed to test the Obama-Iranian deal, is a sound way forward. We also have Senator Schumer, the Democrat from New York, weighing in, saying that he's glad that Trump backed off and is desperately searching for any sort of exit ramp from his ridiculous bluster. So a lot of reaction from Capitol Hill as really we wait to see the details, how this unfolds, what's in the plan. Do they really open up the Strait of Hormuz today, where Robert Sherman is there? It's today, tonight here in the U.S. We're watching and waiting to see in those early morning hours over in the Middle East whether or not they follow through with this.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.